The best way to create the math channels in AIM Race Studio 3 is to use the MotoSPEC Data Equations. So we can find that under Data Ac, Data Equations. In the window that pops up in the section for AIM, you can see that we need to input the front and rear potentiometer names. It's important that those exactly match the names of the channels in AIM. So going over to Race Studio 3, we can confirm that the math channel names are fork and shock, all in capitals. We can then select the name for the math channel file. You can see that I already have one math channel file here for Race Studio 3, which has an AJMC extension. Since I'm going to be writing the math channel for test 2, I'll change the number and then hit save. In the data equations window, I'll hit write AIM equations. After it calculates for a moment, it will pop up with a confirmation message saying that the file has been successfully written. I'll close that and then go back over to AIM. At the top right in AIM, I can click on the Math Channels button. Within that window, the second button from the right has a left pointing arrow. I'll click on that. To save me from having to navigate all through the directories, I've got a quick access shortcut to the directory where I wrote the file. Here's the test2 file that I just created. I'll then click on open. You can see now that there is a MotoSPEC entry in the channels library. In order to activate those equations, I'll click on the little gear and say enable all channels of MotoSPEC for all sessions, or I can enable all channels of MotoSPEC for the logger. It's important to note that because you're activating these equations for all sessions, it's not possible to differentiate between the settings used in each session. So if you have 2 or more sessions recorded with different setups, the math channels will be applied for all sessions, not respecting the independent setups of each session. So it's best to look at each session individually rather than trying to compare multiple sessions to each other. So I'll enable all math channels, hit exit. And now if I search for MotoSPEC channels, you can see here that I have all the MotoSPEC channels that were created. For example, I can bring up the ground trail and I can see my ground trail values over the full lap. For example, you can see that where the fork travel is a maximum, the trail is a minimum. So as a sanity check, it seems to make sense. There are also channels for other values such as rake, swing arm angle, anti-squat, front and rear forces, center of gravity, vertical and horizontal, and wheelbase. If you do open up another session and you want to look at another lap with different setup variables, you can come back into the Math Channels window, click on the gear and say delete all channels of MotoSPEC. Confirm that you want to delete it. You're then able to select a different AJMC file to load up for that session.